firstly, really impressive win, but obviously set out by the injury to Harry. How's he going?
Well, he's hobbling around in the change rooms, but we'll obviously wait until Monday to get the scans and we'll sort of follow it up from there. So I'm not even too sure necessarily what the initial prognosis of that would be. So we'll wait to obviously get it scanned and then we'll obviously find out what the damage is from there.
Is it an ankle? Because we heard...
No, knee. No, knee. Yeah, knee. So, so we just obviously wasn't able to get going again. So, we'll obviously take him out of the game.
There's a big spectrum for a knee injury. Are you worried that it's...
No. Early diagnosis, no. But we'll just, it's like one of those ones. I think we just wait till we get the scans and we'll get the full bit of information and then we can sort of feed it out from there.
The forward line was very impressive despite the injury. How good was it to see that kind of efficiency in the performance?
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. Look, the guys were obviously, I guess Port defenders were trying to support the aerial contest a little bit, so Charlie had to take his turn to just get the ball to ground, and they were able to do that. Some of the smalls got to work and were able to hit the scoreboard, so that was pleasing. Again, we had a lot of different types of goal kickers in there. Shout out to Motts for being able to get in late into the team and to have the impact he did in the first half. I don't think he would have dreamed that was what his night was going to look like, but he certainly got very energised by it. Just to be able to sort of bring that pressure in the front half when we needed to and have that presence, when the ball hit the ground was obviously a pretty important part of the game.
How late?
Sorry. Calf. He's tightened up in the warm-up, yeah.
How late was that decision made? Was Motlop up in the box when?
No, he was still on the ground. So I was in through the warm up. He just couldn't get going. So for whatever reason, he just sort of felt like he was tightening up. And like anything, it's probably not going to get better when you start game time. So we obviously had the emergency there, and we had a like-for-like replacement. So we went with it.
Some people that were really spoken, but Jesse just looked like he was having a ball.
Yeah, well. Does that to you when you kick forward, don't you, in the first half? But he got lots of little looks, and it was pleasing for him to be able to come in and just adapt. And we got on with business, and I guess it's next man in, and next man in did a role for us, and that's all we're asking our players to do: be able to come in and have an impact with their role, and make sure that they contribute to somebody else in the role that they're able to do. And he's been in pretty good form. His last couple of weeks in the VFL has been pretty strong, so there's no hesitation being able to bring him in. He's ready to go.
The contested ball numbers and clearance, they were pretty even, and normally under you and Carlton won, those numbers have been heavily tilted your favour. Where'd you see, I suppose, the point of difference made tonight in the game?
Yeah, well, I looked down, in terms of just the numbers themselves, like centre square bounce were down a couple in the end, but midfield-wise we're actually quite strong. So that probably tells me that given the overall number we just lost, we've probably lost the bookends a little bit. So, obviously we were able to change up what we needed to. They got going in the back end of the second quarter there. Houston, Rosie, Butters were starting to get their hands on it and becoming quite damaging. But thankfully, for short periods of time, they sort of always look threatening. But we were able to get in that arm wrestle and be able to fight our way back. And I thought in the last quarter, when we really need to be able to get that territory on the field, and I thought that was a really important part of the game, was to obviously get to work in the clearances.
How long has it played that well?
I think the last few weeks we've actually been playing some really good footy, but clearly when you're playing against a side that's won 13 in a row, that's another level. They've overcome plenty of challenges throughout those last 13 or so games, and so being emphatic with the way that we played was important. I think what we also walk away from the game is, understanding that there's still a bit of work to be done within our system. We had 59 inside 50s, which is, you can't complain. Clearly we've kicked a winning score, but, we've had 62 inside 50s against us. So it's probably not the number we want to be fighting against. Their efficiency was a little low on the night, and our efficiency was pretty good. So, tables have turned a little bit when it comes to that, based on where we were at only about 5-6 weeks ago. We'll have to look at the vision and, have to look at it pretty strongly and see where our next level of improvement comes from. A lot of facets of our game we take away we're really really pleased with, but clearly out of those numbers, there's still some things we need to be able to get to work on.
Do you feel like the pressure around the ball was pretty hot throughout? I mean, not just at the ball carrier, but then the defender pushing, leaving their man and pushing up?
Yeah, well, that's been the significant change for us, is that we've had a total buy into that. we've also had a total buy-in in terms of just being able to get our jobs done, and there was a couple of standouts in the team performance today, but it was largely fairly even, and they've been sharing the load and being able to take their turn, whether that's playing higher up the field or whether that's flipping numbers through the middle of the ground. So they're certainly sharing the load more, and the numbers say so. And against a pretty good side, you need that team performance, and we're able to get that.
Jack Silvani, one of those standouts.
Oh, he was a standout. Yeah, he was be able to hit the scoreboard the way that he did, and the role we've asked him to play. It's a tough role to be able to do that, to be able to sort of play second ruck and come in and compete there, and then ask to go forward. So he was certainly one of those guys.
But yeah, you've tried him in the VFL in defence. I mean, where do you see him as his best spot? Is it what he did tonight?
Yeah, well, he's certainly played some good patches. He actually did some really good things down in defence as well. So, when you talk to him, he's saying that his little stint there actually has helped him quite a fair bit. So, well, I believe him. It's certainly he's certainly competing really hard. We're obviously through a pretty big task to him and Youngie, in the last couple of weeks when we didn't have any rucks, and they just took it on. Didn't complain about it. Weren't worried about it, and the midfield, we were able to support them both. And obviously Tom's been able to come in and have an impact tonight as well. His presence was really valued, but just to be able to sort of see the guys being able to come in and get their jobs done was probably the most pleasing part of the whole night.
What's changed and how's it changed, Michael, from when it looked like, from the outside, it looked like the season was falling apart for Carlton?
There's probably been a couple of simple things. One of the first ones is just our application to get pressure on the ball. That's been the main one, and I think we're all sharing the load better. We're clear on the roles we need to be able to get done, and we're buying into others, and we're prepared to take a back seat if we need to. And again, I highlight Charlie's effort tonight. He wasn't necessarily sharing in the goals, but his ability to be able to control the drop and get the ball to ground and let others go to work, I thought was a real highlight. There's a few others that I'm probably leaving out. But they're the two things that have probably really significantly changed for us.
How big an impact do you think having guys like Dave Cunningham, Jack Marr, coming into the side, probably about the time when you started to win again, what impact did they have on your side?
Yeah, it's tough to nail down into three, but yeah, I have to say they've made a pretty significant difference. Fogg's a really smart player, and he's really bought into the role we've asked him to do. So that's been pleasing to see that he's been able to step up and been able to play the footy he has. Cunners I haven't seen a lot of until just more recent times because he just hasn't been able to get out and play. So it's nice to see that sort of burst and acceleration out of stoppage, and you saw some of his ball use again tonight, which was particularly pleasing. And I just think Jack's just tough. He gets footy, and there's some people that just walk taller with guys in the team, and I'm not asking him to, get up and down the ground. He just has to be a presence for us back inside 50, and he's doing that really well for us.
Martin and Cunningham seem to be playing with real confidence in their bodies at the moment. Would you credit that to a more cautious approach this season, maybe with them, to get them ready to play?
No, not really. They've done the loads that we've asked them to do, and they've been able to step that up. What we've had to do over the last month, is just make sure we're managing and until they get that body of work of games under their belt. When we sort of feel like we're a bit more comfortable with that, then we'll start to increase the loads as needed, but they get well managed. They've formed a pretty strong relationship with our HP team, and they manage them really well, and we're getting a real great output from them. So, well done to those guys.
The expectations are going to grow for the team now, and how do you think you'll handle it this time?
Well, I hope we give it as much attention as what we gave 6 weeks ago. The reality is that whether people are saying bad things about you or good things about you, you have to treat it exactly the same. And there's another thing we've got to get better at. And there's more improvement that's still to come. We stop and acknowledge the changes that we've been able to make in our game. That's been crystallised in terms of the style of footy that we want to be able to play, but we've still got to get after it. And again, we play against a really quality opposition today, and I walk away and say, well, that was a fantastic team effort. The pressure on the ball was great. It was a really even performance, but we've got to go and dig into the game and find out where our next level of improvement comes from. And so we'll do that, and we'll treat it exactly the same, and we'll get on to next week pretty quick.
Was it the best performance under you?
Big pardon?
Was it
I think the last couple of weeks have been some real progress in our team. To be able to go away last week against Fremantle and be able to do that on the road was particularly impressive. And obviously with the opposition we had to play is 13 in a row, was it? 13 in a row, and to be able to play in that manner. Had a couple out, so maybe we also got them at the right time, but that shouldn't take away from the performance that we had today. And I was really pleased, and we walk away again with a quality performance. Highlight a lot of individuals with the growth that they've made in their games. But when we turn up on Monday, we'll make sure we're really consistent with our view. We'll look at the great things that we've been able to do well in transfer, and we'll look at the things that we need to be able to do better, and then we'll get on to next week. No worries. Thank you.